Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is Cee Certified Brewhead. Welcome to episode 158 of Beer Not Just a Podcast Adjunct series. Ladies and gentlemen, we are taking it back to the motherland this evening. One thing that was always a favorite of mine back before we did all this stuff virtually. I was going to Australia every year for a little while there, so I got to know the beer scene after discovering it here in Canada and going back home, and it was easily, I think I've said this a bunch, it's been one of my favorite things to watch because the growth is on a different trajectory than anything I'd ever seen. And I imagine it's a mix of the internet and just, things traveling faster and just seeing the first time I went and then the next time, like, oh, wow, this is like leagues better again and again. So it's super exciting, and it's not something I get into too often. So I happen to have some beers from my favorite brewery from Australia and extended the offer. So I'm stoked to get into some Aussie talk, and particularly in this in this economy, in this crazy time that we're all living through, just to see the parallels between the States and Canada and so on and so forth. And yeah, man, I'm stoked for it, folks. Please welcome Chris Farmer of Banks Brewing. Welcome back, sir. It's been a minute.
Yes, nice to see you, Cee.
Likewise, brother. Dude, thank you so much for hanging out. We were just yapping off air there a little bit, but a friend of my parents, Dave, shout out to Dave, he went by and you gifted him some beers for him to bring to me. He came, I think it was May last year, and fuck, that was a treat. It was so dope to get your freshest stuff. There were things that were canned like a week before, which is ridiculous. And he was already in the States, like, around for a bit, so it was very cool, man. So I appreciate that. It was really cool to get to taste where you're at, so it gives me a bit more of a benchmark to to chat about all the things you've been doing since the last time you were on, which I think we said was probably sometime in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yep.
Yes, many moons ago. But
what I learned back, I forgot to tell you this off air. What I learned was from I had a couple of Aussie, I had you, and I think I had Derek from Bad Shepherd on. What I realized was it was hella weird to be having a brewery on the pod and not drink that brewery's beer. That was part of I was like, oh, this is what you have to do. Okay, otherwise it's like just strange. Why am I drinking something else? We're here to talk about you, right? So what I did for this pod, and that's why I reached out to you, I kept putting off drinking these beers, and I think this is probably why, because I did want to do this. I'm horrendous with triple IPAs. I just let them shits sit. I don't know why. It's like the type of beer you'd have one beer in a night, and that's kind of the beer, or you'd share it. And I just kind of let them sit. So I have a triple IPA tonight, which we're going to see how it goes. So that one was canned May 1st, you were saying?
Yes. Yeah, it might now be a barley wine. Who knows?
We're going to find out. So I did, actually, the other thing I was telling you on text, I had like 5 or 6 triples that were just sitting in the fridge forever. And some of them were like 16 to 18 months old. So I was like, all right, I think I had some like family over, and I was like, let me just bust these out. We can all just sample some, and they held up surprisingly well. So I have faith, because this would be, I think, 7 months. Is that right? May till now, 7 to 8. June, July, August, September, October, November, December, 7.5. So this one was for your 7th birthday last year. 60% of the time, it works every time. Great name, by the way. Ridiculous.
Big Anchorman fans.
Right. It's for what?
Anchorman.
That's why I knew it. I forgot all your shit's from movies. Yes. That's amazing.
Most of it. Yeah.
Most of it.
Yeah. Nothing original.
Never. Who needs originality? No idea is original. And this is 10.3, and it's got Citra Cryo, and Idaho 7, which classics from memory. We're both big fans of Idaho 7. That was something we talked about, right?
Yeah, I like it. It doesn't get used that much these days. I feel like it kind of had its time in the sun, and now it's... But yeah, no, I like Idaho 7 when used well.
Yep, gets fronted on definitely a little bit. So obviously it's like the early afternoon there. So, you can't be putting a 10.3% down your throat. How do you feel about this color off first look? I'm going to get the yeast in, but
It looks okay. There shouldn't be much yeast in there. It's, everything gets fuged these days, but there'll be something settling. Color looks all right. It doesn't look too oxidized or anything at the moment.
No, it smells good. Like it's not. It probably was brighter, but I'm just trying to get it all in. Tell us about this beer, man, while I take a quick photo of it. What's the deal? So it was one of the special anniversary brews?
Yeah, so we don't do triple IPAs overly often. They're becoming harder and harder as a sell here. So it seems that ABV scares the majority of the consumer. But
Makes sense.
We do try and do one a year, and they do go really well. So it's pretty much a walk in the park for us to do one as a birthday beer. Yeah, they've all been super popular. We pretty much won't do an IPA without Citra, especially a triple.
Right.
It's the salt, it's the pepper, it's the garlic, it's the good garlic. I'm saying it's something that you need in all your meals.
Absolutely.
And all your meals. So it's I'm actually just looking at the recipe right now. There's got Citra Incognito in that too, which is something that we play around with, especially on the bigger ABV beers, which is a liquid form.
That's the liquid one,
But yeah, which we use sometimes. By the amount we've used here, I'd say we used it on the hot side in the Whirlpool. We do also occasionally dry hop with it. It's not made to be a product that is supposed to be used cold side, but a lot of breweries do get good results using it on the cold side as well. So, but yeah, on this one it looks like we use it on the hot side. So, yeah, plenty of Citra, probably about 15% Idaho, just to give it a little bit something extra, and pretty much all Australian malt on that one. And yeah, just a pretty atypical hazy triple IPA, really. I'm assuming it's still pretty juicy and tropical, and
citrusy, a little dank. Yep. Just was about to say, getting the dankness. This is what I was saying though. I just feel like by nature, because they end up being a little green. Was it green to begin with?
Yeah, they can have a bit of bite, be a little green. Yeah.
I found that, I don't know about you, would know more about this than me, but I found that the beers that have that always last way longer. Like we did do you remember the collab that I brought you in 2018, the one with our face on it, right? That beer was so fucking bitey, and that beer you could drink it. I had a friend who didn't know anything about beer, and she said she drank it at like 18 months, and they said it was good. Now they didn't know about beer, but I think up to that, we did a second one, was my point. This one, the yellow one here, and that was good up to like 6 months. We did that, and it just hit probably 6-7 months now, and I had a can the other week, my last one, and it was like fine, but there was still pretty burny. The second version was still not as bad as the first one, but the second one, so I was like, all right, well, sometimes they could just keep going, and it just gets kind of better and better until it just finally peaks and then slowly drops.
Yeah, I feel the bigger beers definitely, they've definitely got a lot more lifespan. We also are very, very firm believers that lactose also is not that we use it in
this one?
as many IPAs as we use. No, there's none in that.
No.
As many IPAs as we used to, but I think lactose is quite a big preservative in a way. Like it just seems like any beer we put that in, it tastes fresher for a hell of a lot longer.
Interesting.
Just some of those cows.
Mate, the cows know. Listen to the cows. The that reminded me. If I've been like, tell me if I'm out of line by taking somewhat mild credit for this, but I remember I brought you a can of, I think it was called O.Dream from Other Half, and that was an Oat Cream IPA, and then you did the first Oat Cream IPA in Australia, and then it became a style because you did it first after trying that beer. Is that facts, or am I misremembering?
I'm not 100% sure if we were the first. I think we were one of the first to do it in Australia. Oh, no, we were definitely one of the first. I don't know if I want to claim we were the first or not. We'll just say yes for this podcast. Okay. But the funny thing was we were making, I've probably said this on here before, making Oat Cream IPAs before we even knew what Oat Cream IPAs were. I just started building IPA recipes years ago, and started like playing around with like we were making milk stouts and stuff like that. And then, and this was even like just at home. And then I started going, I wonder what that mouthfeel and sweetness would be like in an IPA. So we put it in our very first, which we just called a New England IPA at the time, which was Wheeze the Juice. And then we found out what Oat Cream IPAs were. And then yeah, we had a couple. Other half were the main ones.
I think they started.
I'd had a couple in the States that I'd tried, and then wanted to sort of keep trying to work on them and be kind of like that. But also, Mr. West brought in a bunch, and then around a similar time, you brought one in, and I think that's just all culminated. And I was like, hang on a minute, no one here is doing this. And even the ones that were when they were doing it, it was like people were really sort of doing oat cream, they were doing milkshake IPAs. They were adding fruit and they were adding this and that. It wasn't just using the lactose and pulling the shit out of it, which, hey, it works. So we started doing that as a bit of like a thing. And then, they've gone really well. Like we just released one yesterday, which was a collab with One Drop. We don't do them as much as we used to do them. Mm-hmm. But we do, we still do maybe one every maybe 2 or 3 months, roughly, an Oat Cream IPA, and they always, they're always very popular. So yeah.
Hell yeah! You know what? You're right about. I totally forgot the Wheeze the Juice because that was the one when we did the first pod in 2018 at the brewery, and that was the one I was super stoked for because that was the trip I was like getting to try. Like the first trip, there was basically no haze in 2016, so 2018 I was like, all right, I'm ready. And I remember, and then you did it again, and you shipped a little cheeky box over for a batch. You were like, "Oh, this is better," and it was ramped up again. And I totally forgot that it did have lactose in it. Yes, but like a pinch. It was like it was pretty subtle. Yeah,
it was reasonably subtle. We, unless we do kind of go, we want the lactose to be there, but not be, and that's one of the things that I think other half do pretty well. I haven't had other half beer in a long time, but. That they did very well was it just, accompanied the beer. It wasn't like you don't drink it and go, man, this is sweet. You just like, man, this is luscious and full and rounded and juicy, and it just worked with what they were doing. So, that's what we've always tried to do with lactose, but the lactose on that was probably, a little lighter than some of the heavier ones we've done.
Okay, that makes sense. Yes, now I'm based out here, so other half is like an hour from me, which is crazy because it's right in Buffalo, and Buffalo's it's closer for me to drive to Buffalo than it is to drive to Toronto from where we're at now. So like other half is everywhere there because they got the Buffalo tap room, they got the Finger Lakes one in just outside of Rochester, and then there's 8 trillion of them around the Philly and DC and like the Rockefeller Center and blah blah blah. So they seem to just be prevalent, gone nuts. It's Chicago, I think, now too. So they went heavy, but it doesn't matter where you go there, you get it. So I feel like I don't recall seeing specifically, but an oat cream that they're doing. But I feel like maybe it just depends when I go, whether they happen to have one on or what's floating around. But
they're not doing.
Not as
not doing it as much.
Not that I saw. Every time I've been, I didn't. Like I always try to get something I haven't had before, just because I don't go there all the time. Like it's not crazy often, so I try to get some new stuff. But I hadn't seen. Particular, like I don't. Maybe they might on the board. They might have one on or something like that. But like you'd think they would have a bunch. It was at that time back in like 2018. I felt like they were like they always had lactose stuff on. Yeah, like it was almost like every other hazy IPA had lactose in it, type of thing. At least that's how it felt.
Yeah, so, definitely. It was the same here. For so long, we were like, we have to have 2 or 3 Oat Cream IPAs on the board or available.
Wow.
We do one or like every month because it's kind of. I think because we were one of the first doing it, we kind of built a name for it. And now
so
people go, we need some more Oat Cream IPAs. And like that was the whole Cake Eater series for us, and then the Feels, and which we do still do, but not as regularly as well. And which works well because when we do them, people really jump for them. So
interesting. So Cake Eater, that I don't think I ever got to try one of those from memory, but I had some mates who was like always telling me about how that's like his fave, like that's the one. Is that? Yeah. One of like is that the most popular one that you would the series? From what I can tell from a distance online, it seems like people lose their minds for that one.
Yeah. That's been our most like we've done a bunch of series beers, and we're still working on some now. But that's the one that no matter when we do it, it always goes well.
Slaps.
People always jump for it. It's always really good. It's just a really good, simple base recipe for a beer like that. And just really letting the hops do their thing. But no, they've been incredibly popular. Last year for Gabs, we were like after what our sort of catch was going to be, and we were like, let's just really lean into cake eater. So we had a cake eater stall, and we were like, I think we had five different or four different versions of cake eaters. We got people to vote on their old favorites, and then did 2 new ones, and did a triple as well, and yeah, it went really well.
That's great, man. I love that.
Yeah.
It's cool to watch from afar and to see all the things you guys are doing. And you've had a bunch of changes since the last time we spoke on here. The main one is a minor adjustment to the name. So was Mr. Banks, as I got the OG merch. And then now you just cut the Mr., which obviously was, well, not obviously, but if people know, it's named after your dog. What was the thinking behind that? Were people just calling you Banks? You're like, this is just complicated?
That definitely came into it. Yeah, a lot of people, just always referred to us as Banks. So they're like simplifying it. We all referred to it as Banks. I think for me personally, I'd been kind of advocating to drop the Mister for a long time. I always just thought like Banks was stronger. It's actually a name that I originally, when I put it to, I say the team then was my wife and family and friends. So what I said to them, I was like, oh, what do we call the brewery? Banks? And no one really jumped at it. And then, I came back to them and they said, Mr. Banks. And everyone was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. It's like, it's like Mary Poppins and it's like this and that. So we sort of went with that for the time. And that worked really well. I think it was really good for us as a start when we were trying to find ourselves and find who we were as a brewery. It was pretty approachable, like the name, it's not too cool that it's too cool for the older generation, and it's not too the other way either. So I think it did what it needed to do for us, but it just felt like the right move to sort of simplify it, streamline it. We don't like to play on it a bit like in a major sense, but also not sort of being male dominated and that sort of way. It's not something that we really have an opinion on here or there, but just we wanted to be more appealing to everyone, so that some people maybe are a bit funny about that sort of stuff, and so yeah,
fair.
Just wanted to sort of level it up, and then the whole thing. I think the big kicker that got it over the line for me with the rest of the staff, because I was mainly the guys in the office and stuff, we talk about that sort of stuff all the time, but the main one for me was when we got the McConaughey cease and desist for McConaughey.
Yes.
So that kick started the whole conversation again, and then I had said we were not going to rebrand our can, and all we were going to change was the name of the beer. I was like, it doesn't sit well with me. Like they cost a lot to make, the cans. I can't just literally be changing one word on the bottom and spending $5,000 to get a new can made. So I advocated pretty strongly for us to go, all right, now is the time. This reason. And then in the end, I just went, you know what? I'm the boss. We're doing it.
That's the best reason.
But everyone came around and everyone agreed in the end, and it looked stronger, and we're still doing little tweaks. We got a little tweak to some of the cans and the core beer cans coming up sometime in the next sometime over the next 12 months. Every can will progressively change a little bit. It's just something that we've always done as a brand. Just try and not be too stagnant in one area, whether that be, I know branding is a big thing and be strong, but I think if you do it the right way, you can make those changes and still show who you are and what you do, but still evolve. So
love that, dude. No, for real. And I guess that's perfect. That's a great explanation. And then that sort of like leaned into the like a rebranding as far as the look and feel as well. So there's like people are watching the video, like behind you there, you got the Good Times can, and it's kind of like a 70s. This is kind of like the beer I'm drinking now is kind of like that. This one that I keep on the shelf here, the Relax, I'm a regular here because I want to represent for you, but also it's the cans are taller here. Like you guys actually have full real pints, like 500 ml.
Yeah.
Here it's 473, so it's always like funny because it's standing above the rest. But is this representative of the older, and then this is maybe more the newer?
I don't think the rebrand as such.
Oh, this is Mr. Banks.
Yeah. So I don't
Okay,
think
so this is older.
the rebrand as such has played a big part in the limiteds, and that's one of the
Okay.
things that we've sort of done is with the limited releases, we're still like, okay, let's have the freedom and the fun to do virtually whatever we want.
Gotcha.
Like we've got some beers coming out that'll come out next month that are like a couple of our guys here are big NBA fans, so we've got a Pacific IPA and an Atlantic IPA, and
nice.
one is using Lakers colors and one's using Celtics colors. So
Gotcha.
we're just sort of like, let's just do what we like, what's fun, what we think it's going to resonate with people, and stuff like that. That 60% of the time, I think we phoned that one in a little bit. We were a bit late, and we just I don't know.
Cool.
It's not one of our favorite can designs, but it's fine.
But
yeah, but with the core range cans, our idea was to be vastly different to what we had originally. Be something that was like bold and like bold and in your face, so you're not trying to. That was one of the other things with our old cans. We thought you really had to look at the can to like see who it was, read what the beer was, etc. So we really wanted to be something that really popped on a shelf. Didn't look like, it's been a very big thing here in Australia to have a two-tone can where it's, might be white and then a blue band at the bottom, or
like Bolter or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people, and Bolter crushed it. They did so well. Like
Clean.
Their branding is fantastic. I like if they didn't have that already, and it was outside of the beer industry and someone else did it, I would have 100% stole that idea. So they absolutely killed it, and it's still so good to this day. Their marketing is incredible. So, but the whole thing for us was, okay, we're going to add a couple of colors. We really like stripes, but used a little bit, uniquely for Australian beer that hadn't really been done that well.
Okay.
And then our big thing was, one of the brands was Santa Cruz, we said, and I think the biggest thing about Santa Cruz for me is like, it's been generational, like how long that brand's been around. And it's ridiculous. My kids, like all the kids at school now, they're all wearing Santa Cruz. Like I remember I was wearing Santa Cruz when I was 12. So it's been such a big brand that stayed relevant for so long. And I think one of the biggest things is like, for us, we're like, let's go with retro dated branding. So it's already dated. Like
right.
It's not gonna go out of fashion because it kind of already is, but that's why it's cool.
That's smart. I never thought of it like that. Like it can't, if you do it too now, it's got a timeline. It
was either really smart or really dumb. So do that.
Well, I think it looks clean. I feel like there's a huge consistency for the beers that I don't know if you recall because it was a while ago, but I know I tried I think it was called Foam, the pills, which was like very similar to that Good Times Behind You there. Jesus Christ, that was the main one I remember. Do you have any? I could find it on my Instagram actually, but
I'm not sure. I can't remember what I sent you. I don't. That probably would have been one of the only core beers that I sent you.
There was,
but yeah, it's all very consistent in what it looks like, and it's just changing up of colors and obviously the main name and stuff like that. But yeah, it was something that you can recognize that's us, and then that really pops on the shelf, and it does. Like there's the shopping center I go to do our groceries. I can see it in the bottle shop across the road as I walk past, and it doesn't look like all the other cans. So it's definitely done what we want it to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so and I'd like to say it's probably going to be our last rebrand because they're pretty expensive exercise.
Yeah.
But who knows? Because as I said before, we don't want to be sort of stagnant and want to keep evolving and being relevant, and that's the hardest thing I think that in the industry today is like staying relevant because everyone wants the new cool brewery, but we're coming on 8 years now, so we're old.
Have you noticed that? Has any? Because this is a really interesting point because I've noticed some of the like the more like say Bellwoods out here, which I'm pretty sure you're familiar with. They were like the hypest of hype, and they opened in 2012. They are now like in the LCBO, which is like the government-run liquor stores out here. Like they're out there, they're doing mad distro. They've sort of like, I guess probably the best word is to say graduated to a sort of not quite legacy brand because it's only like, what's that, like 12 years this year, but like they were the ones that everyone lined up for, and now you can get their stuff kind of everywhere. So like, has anything, I mean, maybe because at 8 years it's not quite that. I feel like they started changing around maybe 9 or 10-ish maybe, but I guess every brand is different. Like, have you noticed an organic change in sort of the perception of you guys yet? Because you're still, in my mind, from over here, it's, you guys are still like hype, like the hype brewery in Victoria, if not the country. I maybe don't have enough of a knowledge, but
Yeah, I just don't know. It's weird. I don't know if there is that much hype anymore.
No?
Like just across it in general. I think
I guess it's everywhere now. Like Haze is everywhere, and Haze was the hype thing.
That's right. And like, what's the new hype thing? Because people have been trying to find it for years, and it's
smoothies, pastries. No, I mean like they've been around for a while. Yeah, there's nothing new.
No, so I don't know. It's we're definitely still considered one of the popular breweries, which is great. Or hype breweries, sorry. But yeah, I think the hype is just a hell of a lot less hype than what it used to be. Whether those people are just like, all right, I'm done, and now they're just buying boxes of Bolter or whatever. That's nothing wrong with that. I was on holiday earlier in the year, and I had plenty of options, and I bought a box of Bolter. Like,
right,
it's
easy.
Just, it's well priced. It's always fresh, and it's great beer. So, there's some of those people who just went full circle, and just want really crushable beer, which is I think it's showing in our sales, definitely with core beer sales definitely coming back into light over limiteds are still selling, but nowhere at the rate they were. But yeah, no, it's the hype thing is, I think just trying to maintain or manage the hype is the hardest thing, and that's something that we're literally talking about every other week. Like, what do we do, and is it still there? And because the market also, someone made a good point to me a while ago. Like, there was a whole 2 years there that like kids turning 18 they didn't get the pub culture. They didn't get to go to the pub because of COVID. So they, they're going to sit around and start drinking at home when a lot of them had never. I think you either start drinking when you're like, I don't know, 15 to 16 in this country and sneaking it. But
that's what I did.
It's the idea of being able to go out to a pub once you're 18 and have beers at a pub. And I think that's probably what continues. That's what continues. I think continues the drinking culture of going to the pub with your mates, and then you have ebbs and flows. Like I can't even tell you the last time I went to the pub. I've got 2 young kids and a lot going on. Yeah. I got a pub downstairs, but I don't often drink there. But right. So I don't know. I think it's that too, that we lost a lot of people that might coming into trying to find what's new and not necessarily clicking with drinking at the moment, but I think it'll come back. I think it's it's fun. Like, beer's good, wine's good, gin's good. It's all good stuff. You just gotta in moderation and sensibly, of course.
Absolutely, of course, at all times.
But so I don't know what the hype is. We'll see.
Okay, interesting. You made a bunch of good points there. I'm gonna have to think about that, or use that as well. The thing about them, because people always talk about Gen Z not drinking, and I'm like, I just thought maybe they just, I don't know, it just didn't translate with them. But that could be it. Is that their key drinking years, particularly there was like essentially at least 2 years solid, maybe a bit longer depending on where you were. that people couldn't do it or couldn't consistently do it. So then
Yeah.
it takes that out, because I'm thinking back when I was 18, I was doing that stupid, ridiculous things at parties at 15, 16, whatever. But then really, as soon as I was 18, like, we're going to the club, we're going to the bar, whatever it is. Like, you're just going out to go and do that. So that's key. That is genius. The other thing that you mentioned was as well the hype stuff. Do you find that? So over here, there's like certain cats that I follow online, and they'll be like even if they live in Toronto, they'll be at fucking, like, other half actually has kind of, because they're just in their 10th anniversary right now. They're in the midst of all of that. So like they're in the same echelon kind of thing as you, as far as like an older or that sort of thing now. So I feel like, and because they got so many locations, the hype has gone down because it's so easy to get the stuff. So like I see these people online. Have you heard of Fidens in Albany, New York?
No.
So they make the best haze in the world. Is my current. We went there over the summer, and I was like, and I'd had some stuff before, and I was like, okay, this is the one. Dudes are there all the time. Dudes are in whatever Treehouse. We went to Treehouse this summer as well for the first time, and I was like, I'd had a bunch before, but I'd never actually been there and been able to get it at a bit more of a scale, and I was like, I get it. It's definitely there. So like, it's these certain individuals that like all they drink, or they'll go and trade with people nonstop and spend obscene amounts of money going over the border to get things shipped from Monkish and North Park and all that type of stuff. Does Australia, or have you noticed that there's those types of people still that are like going to Range, going to any of the other hype breweries that I'm personally not aware of out there, that are all they post are Banks and Range and blah blah blah? Like, does that exist there at that sort of level where people are chasing it?
Yes, but I think nothing sells out anymore is the problem. Like,
okay, so it's not hard to get. It's just they got to still
it's too accessible. Well, no, it's not too. It's accessible, and our population is too small.
As far as the beer drinkers,
the breweries have grown.
Right.
Yeah, or the breweries have grown too large that they're making, so much that it doesn't really, like, you do not see. I can't think of a brewery that posted something and sold out in one day for the last. Maybe a Christmas box or something that one of the breweries did that sold out really quickly, but like a single releases beers, they're not really selling out anymore. Maybe on day 2 or something like that, but it's not like you do not have to set your clock and be ready to go.
Gotcha.
Whereas there was times where you did, like, especially for us, there was 100%, and we do still, we've got some beers that on day 2 they're sold out, or day 3 generally, and we also do that. We also hold more than we'd, instead of letting it go out of wholesale. So kind of so it doesn't sell out, because I don't. Life's busy. Yeah, I don't want people to have to, jump on their lunch break. Like it should be that you can jump on that night it's released and grab something, or the next morning, is kind of our thinking. I think if you can get it fresh is obviously key, and selling out is a great marketing tool. But I think there's a difference between selling out on the day and selling out within the first couple, because you could also find the same problem of annoying people. They go to jump on at 4:00 on a Friday on their way home, and the beer's sold out when it was released at midday, and they're like, stuff this, I'm gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you guys have, well, when I say you guys, I guess I mean both Banks and sort of Aussie breweries. Typically, you guys have a pretty decent distro footprint. Like, I remember you either telling me, or I saw you post about it, something like big shipments going up to Queensland and sort of around the country, right? So there could be folks in Brizzy who have access to fresh, which is probably the key word there, like, week old product.
Yeah, definitely. Like, every release we have goes to every state in Australia except for the Northern Territory.
Wow.
And like, that will be within a week, generally within a week of us releasing it. So you don't, and that's another reason, you don't have to jump on and buy a 4-pack, because you can go to your bottle shop and buy a single can. So that's definitely one of the things. So we've got maybe 5 different distributors that just take the beer and sell it in their respective states. So yeah, I think definitely accessibility, but I think that's a good thing, to be honest. I think
I think it's great.
That, not having to jump on and buy because, like, to be honest with you, I would love to sell 4-packs out of our website, but like, it's a nightmare packing wise and stuff like that. So that's where we go, all right, cool. Well, we're sending it. We can't allow you to do 4-packs. We do mixed 4-packs, but we can't allow, like, single packing. One, the amount of mistakes we'd make, because packing online orders and human beings, it's not an exact science. But that, along with the fact that you can get it in most, and the people that want to buy those singles are probably generally the sort of hype, people searching the hypey products.
That's me. So, because I don't want 4-packs of anything really. Yeah, interesting.
No, I get that completely.
And it's not because it's not good. It's just like the way that New England, so much, and you want to try it all, and there's like, I feel like I don't know, I hadn't thought about this, but it's just the way that New England's came about. Like, the thing was, you wanted to always get that next one. So if you're stuck with a 4-pack, there's always going to be some that are, you forget it in your fridge, or they kind of like, it's shit, it's been 5 weeks now, it's kind of dying. Like, I got to get some 4-packs recently. Have you heard of, Missorum in Montreal? Yeah. They did a Christmas release. I had them made out back in Montreal, got them for me, like, picked them up. But even when I had my cart open, it went live at 6 p.m. and at 6:05 I forgot, and he texted me. I was like, oh shit. And I went on, and by the time I checked out, there was a bunch of things in my cart that already had sold out. I was pretty quick on it. And I got to get 4-packs, and I've still got a couple left from the 4-packs. I was sort of thinking, as you were talking about this, I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta get rid of them this weekend, don't I? They're gonna be like way too old. So it's like, it's just like sort of how the haze thing goes. Like, you typically, that's why when we went to Fiden's, they sold singles, and it was I thought it was like a scarcity thing because it was super, super hype, and they just opened a tap room in Albany. So we went, the tap room had been open like a week by the time we went there, and beforehand the can drops were like, noon till 3 p.m. one day a week from this warehouse where they produced or whatever. So I thought it was kind of that, but maybe they'll change that, because I can understand from a business perspective. So obviously I get it totally. Like, it's got to be annoying for you to be like, if you're trying to sell singles and trying to keep the fridge in some sense of order. And, if I was owning a brewery, I would also sell in 4-packs, but I love that you mentioned that you do the mixed 4-packs, because it's sort of like, I'm never mad at that. But like, hell yeah, give me 4. Might as well. If I'm going to come here to a brewery, I'm not going to buy 1 can. Like,
so we do that. That's only online, on the online store. We do singles at the brewery.
Oh, you do singles at the brewery? Okay, word.
Yeah, if anything. And that's one of the things that I think in America, like, every time I get to the States, I'm like, that's why I reckon so many people, we personally, like, I'll go and buy from, like, a corner store down the road as well sometimes, because you can buy a single. It's generally a Pacifico or something like that, but it's so strange that over there you have to buy a 4-pack.
I hate it.
And I understand it, but like, it's,
as a consumer,
when you're traveling,
you don't have the room for it.
No, you got to jump on a flight, so you got to throw 3 extra beers in the thingo, or just paying it forward to the next guy by leaving it in the bar, in the fridge at the Airbnb or
something like that. I mean, but that's not a cheap paying it forward. Like, by the time you add it up, we've been doing, we used to only do like longer trips, but now we're so close and we have a car, like we don't have to like book it. And we just got, there's this thing called Nexus, which is like this card that lets you go through the fast lane on the border and at the airport. So we just got that. And there's like a private, we haven't used it yet. You don't even need a passport to cross the border now. Like, I just show them this card.
Wow.
And we just fucking go. And there's a private bridge now for Nexus holders, like this one that the Waze won't take you to. You got to put it in specifically. So I haven't tried it, but I'm amped for it. And doing these day trips, the last time I went to like 3 or 4 breweries, and everywhere only had 4-packs. Even this fire ass store that someone told me about. I was at Other Half in Rochester, and I was like, I asked the dude, and I was like, they only did 4s. I'm like, I don't want it because I don't know what I could bring back without getting taxed. I don't want to pay the tax. So I even went to this store. The store only sold 4-packs, and they gave me attitude when I asked them if they do singles. So I ended up having to find. I went to Trader Joe's and I just got a bunch of their Oktoberfest beers. This was in the fall, which was great because I got some snacks. I got the TJ's right here, loving it, and grabbed. And they're the only place that had singles. And then the last trip we did, it was like I did my research beforehand and found the spot in Rochester and Buffalo that had it, but it was an effort, and it was very annoying because I didn't want to have to bring. I found out you could bring about a case or so back without any problems, but I'm not trying to bring 6 different beers in a case. Like I'd love to get 24 different beers if possible, and it was just like an ordeal to figure out how to do that. And so I feel your pain. It's not an optimal thing, but I really appreciate the mixed 4-pack. Even Burlington Beer Co. in Vermont does that. That was the first time I'd seen it, and they charge a premium, I believe, of $2 to do that. So like it would be, say, $14 for a 4-pack, and it'd be $16 if you wanted to do mix. I think that's fair because it takes your stuff. It's a bit annoying for the brewery, but it's like a convenience fee. I'm like 50 cents a can extra. Yeah. I like that. So it's cool that you at least do the singles. Yeah, and you're doing the singles from the brewery. So, I found the beers that I had here. So it was Hop Hop Hooray, which was a 7. That was an Oat Cream. That one was fire. I had Foam, the pills. This is good because I actually hadn't looked at this for a while. I had is that one? No. Here, Vienna, fairly traditional. That was great. The Vienna lager. Is this one? Yeah, Follow the Festoons, which was a Westie.
Yes, yeah.
That was dope. Because I remember having Westies with you at the brewery when Mum came down. I think that time, and you had a bunch of Westies. That was cool. That was before I even gave a shit about Westies personally, but I liked that you threw that in.
Was really popular last year. That was we really enjoyed that. We've done a lot of beers since that are a similar format to that.
That are Westies? Okay. That one was killer, and the other one I'm seeing here, Secretly Ripped, the 7.2 haze.
Haze out, yeah.
Just look, I'm losing my mind here. Yeah, like that one was super good. Was that one? I think that might have been about it. But yeah, man, they were so impressive. It was really cool. So like, as far as the products themselves, so obviously, like I was saying in the intro, like every time I came and saw you in 2018, where we met and we did the pod at the brewery, and then I came back in 2019 and we hung out and then at the Gabs thing, and the difference even between those 2 years, because the first year was when Wheeze was your primary or only haze at the time, and then in 2019 there was a whole bunch more, and then over like the years since, it improved and just got crazier. Like do you see that in the I imagine you're pretty critical of your stuff, and you've sort of seen that and driven that improvement, and even if it's a series of 1% improvements. Talk about like the maybe the approach to the beer, if that's changed at all, in the different styles, because I think it's interesting, even all of that said, as far as the improvement, but also the fact that you're getting an older brewery and you do want to appeal to everyone, not just the hype people, because they're a percent of a percent, which would make no business sense to only appeal to those 7 people who do it. Man, curious about that.
Yeah, no, it's always been a big thing for us, is just constant improvement and tweaking of the beers to make it better.
Hell yeah.
They've definitely improved over the years. I think if you drank a beer of ours in the first 3 years, that probably tastes like mediocre homebrew compared to now. But there were some good ones, but there probably would definitely be some bad ones. But it's something that we've just continuously worked on. Big thing for us is obviously finding the right ingredients, and then tweaking processes as well. The way we go about things, our fermentation temperatures and just tank time. We've done a fairly big upgrade within the last 18 months, roughly. The start of that upgrade was we bought a centrifuge.
Nice.
Which has been awesome. Probably like our favorite piece of equipment in the entire brewery. I call it the wizard stick. It just polishes beers and really just just really fine tunes them.
Right.
Also helps with shelf stability as well.
And yield,
And
right?
then yield is not something not that we necessarily bought it for, and that we see great differences with. But it definitely, there's definitely better yield. But just like that you don't have to worry if there's particles getting into your beer, and just can strip out things that you don't necessarily want in it.
Yeah, it's a good
It'd be
point. There's a
interesting
few
to
little
see that.
specks at the bottom here, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. So that, what was that?
This is first of May. I don't know if you can you kind of see that?
Yeah. So that's the thing with that's the thing with the hazy beers. So with the centrifuge, like we can get our clear beers like crystal right, basically through the fuge. But with the hazy beers and the fuge, it's sort of like it's a little bit counterintuitive of what you're trying to do, because we're trying to keep the beer as hazy as possible, but strip out all the nasty protein and particles that you don't want. But you got to send it through the fuge fast, so that the slower you go through the centrifuge, the clearer the beer gets. The faster you go through, the hazier it stays. So we send it through to rip out all the particles and then go through. But then, if you let the beer set for 8 or 9 months, then obviously haze is protein stuff in solution. So there's still chances that it can drop out over a long time. You probably wouldn't notice that for the first 4 months at all. Like, it would just gradually, maybe a slight bit. But so yeah, the centrifuge was the start of the big upgrade, and then something that we had been talking about for years, and last year decided to. Might have even been the start at the end of the year before, decided to pull the trigger on. We did a full brewhouse upgrade. So we ripped out the old brewery, sold it off to a new upcoming distillery up in Queensland, ordered a custom made one in China, worked really close with the guys to really customize that system to be able to do some really cool things that a lot of other breweries can do, but that we'd never really had the ability to be able to do. And we got that in July. And our timeline, I think, for the full swap over, I think we were a little optimistic. I think we were thinking 4 weeks from the day we ripped out the old brewery to the day we put down the first beers on the new system. And that was, I think it blew out to nearly 6.5, 7. So it was
bad. But that means no new product for 6.5, 7 weeks.
Nah. So we had basically filled tanks, so that we could package once we got the packing line back in. Because we also redid all the floors, like got everything. We were like, okay, we're doing this. We're just so the
red floors, right?
Completely different.
Right.
Yeah, we redid that. Yep. So we got proper, some really nice shiny floors in that. They've been worth every cent. And I think if we hadn't have done that at the time, we would have never done it, and I also would have regretted it, because it just, we put this nice big new system on, and it just looks very impressive. But I think that's the biggest thing for us, that it's the biggest investment we've ever spent. But and some people could question our timing with the way that the economy is at the moment. But we just thought it's as good a time to double down on our business and our product, and sort of really invest for longevity, and to sort of show that we're hopefully not going anywhere, and we're committed to improving our product, because that was the biggest reason. It's increased our output massively, but of what we can produce, we're by no means at capacity. But I think the biggest thing is quality. Like it's the beers that are coming out of that system in the last couple of months. Like we started brewing on it in late August, and the first few, was dialing it in. We're still sort of dialing in some of them. Like our lagers and our clear beers are coming out incredible. Easily the best that we've ever, any of our sort of West Coast IPAs or hoppy pills, or just our German style lagers, core pales, all that sort of stuff are tasting excellent. The hazy stuff is something that we're still sort of tweaking with, to get right where we want them, but we've got some stuff in tank that we've been centrifuging this week that's looking pretty impressive too, so that's really exciting. And then even over the last couple of days, we're implementing some of the things I was saying before that weren't, one of the reasons that we custom built the brew house to be able to do some things that we haven't been able to do were mostly to do with like lager techniques. So, step mashing, being able to do decoction and stuff like that. And we've got some beers in tank now that we've been that have had them. We've had some step mash beers. We've started step mashing our core lager foam, which is, I think, personally changed that beer massively. It's just taken it to another level.
Amazing.
And then we've got a pretty exciting beer for us. I'd like to say it's the Brewer Hype, a double decocted Helles, which is going to come out in late Feb, which is tasting pretty awesome. So that's exciting. And then, we've even started, we've sort of been talking about what ways, which kind of goes back to what we were saying, like a little bit about what we were saying before, like what is the new hype product? I think the new, like we have sort of settled on, we think the new hype product is quality and innovation within the style.
That's a good name.
Like we're actually implementing some sort of lager techniques, and not that being lager yeast with IPAs, because we do that all the time. A lot of our West Coast IPAs are brewed with lager yeast, like a lot of brews these days. Actual like bashing techniques that are predominantly lager focused and lager driven, and putting them into West Coast IPAs or like hazy IPAs and stuff like that, and just seeing what sort of benefits that can give us to mouthfeel and body and haze stability and stuff like that. So it's really cool to sort of see, and that's the way we're sort of looking at this next 12 months of innovation within the styles, but not necessarily trying to come up with a new milkshake IPA or anything like that. So
I like that, bro. Quality is the new hype is a quote. That's beautiful. I feel like, and there's something you touched on off air that maybe we could extrapolate on, and you kind of did touch on this earlier too, was that plays off this. The fact that and tell me your thoughts, over COVID, the first year, 2020, was a crazy increase in sales for everybody. Like, to the point where it was like, made everybody, kind of tricked everyone to think, oh wow, this fucking things are going. Then all of a sudden it kind of turned, everyone got fat and broke, and we're like, all right, now I'm drinking seltzers or I'm drinking Crispies and not spending as much, and more importantly, not willing to risk the money on one-offs, which is something you mentioned earlier, that you're seeing the market isn't doing as much anymore in exchange for reliability, whether that is in any style. Actually, I think it appeals to all style, and I feel like that's something to be said for core brands, period, whether that core brand is a haze, or even if it's not a core brand, but like you bring it back 4 times a year, because that means the recipe's tweaked, and that means he might be like, oh, this batch of this bad boy, it's the best one yet, type of thing, and that you're going to spend that money, that we're also going to talk about what that money is in Australia, because it's very different out here, on this product, and it's going to hit, because people might not have that level of disposable income anymore to roll the dice. So curious to extrapolate on that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing that we're seeing here is, consumer confidence in a product. So, as you said, the limited release program during COVID was crazy. I say that we don't want to have a beer that sells out on the first night that people, can get the next day, so they're not annoyed. We did during COVID have many beers that sold out within the first hour, half an hour, all that sort of stuff. So these days doesn't happen.
Wild. Half an hour. Jesus, bro.
Crazy.
So nuts.
Fuck. But I think people just, they were getting free money. A lot of people were getting free money during COVID. The government was shelling out coin, which is, now the reason
everyone's broke.
But it was, there was nothing else to do. You had nothing else to spend your money on. Everything was on hold. So it was easy. It was an easy decision. It didn't matter if you were making a risk on a beer that may or may not be awesome, because there was always going to be another one next week from someone, or probably from the brewery you bought from. And, it's essentially wasn't your money for a lot of people. So
I wonder if that's why they looked at it. Do you think that's why they were just like, whatever, just beer?
I think so. Like, I especially felt like, I mean, if you think about that for like a younger generation, like I wasn't making that much money. I wasn't getting that money when I was out of school.
Yeah,
they're doing that without they're getting that without working. So, but who knows?
Yeah,
but
it's interesting.
Yeah, I think the fact that our core range stuff is doing better. It's our core $22 to $28 4-pack of a consistent West Coast or hazy IPA, or a core $16 pale ale 4-pack. People know what they're going to get, and that goes back to that quality is the new hype sort of thing. It's like, you don't want to be wasting your money if things are tight and you've only got $50 to spend on beer, or on a luxury product, whether that be beer, face cream, I don't know, whatever it is. Then you want to know that it's something you're going to enjoy, and not crack on the couch on a Friday after a long week and go, oh fuck, this sucks.
Yeah,
I just wasted the only $50 I have, and I'm not enjoying it. So yeah, we've definitely seen an uptake in some of our products that people would have had before, and yeah, I think that's going to continue this year. It makes sense, but that's also the reason. That's one of the big things that we're massively focusing on, putting the most work. We're putting a lot of work into a lot of the beers, but we're trying to make those beers remain at the price point they're at, but be better, even better. So yeah,
that's dope.
Yeah.
Hence the quality is the new hype.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine this is true for you too. I started noticing this trend in my beer nerd friends. Like, one of my friends close friends is like one of the main beer writers in Quebec, English one, and he was always trying everything, and now he lives 3 minutes from Massorum, so he drinks Massorum or he buys Péché Mortel, and that's basically it. And that's what he does. He just completely doesn't care about anything anymore, because he knows Massorum makes the haze how he likes it, but they do the crispies phenomenal, and they've got LUKRs, and they've got all the lagering tanks and stuff now, like all the sideways ones. And Pastry is the greatest coffee stout ever, so you're like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. So I was like, oh, interesting, that's weird. And I'm seeing that type of behavior more and more. And I'm even finding myself where I'm like, we were in Vermont, we went to Montreal and Vermont over the summer, and I was like, oh, I grabbed a 12-pack of Von Trapp, which has a mix of the Kolsch, the Helles, the Vienna, and something else, Pils, I think. And I was like, yeah, sick. I've had them all before, but I was like, no, I want those in the fridge so I can just crack that. I went to Treehouse and got their Pils in the too. So it's almost like, because that's going to be quality, you just don't want to even think about it. I don't want to always have to take a photo or write a damn review. I like doing it too, but also sometimes you don't want to. And I feel like that maybe it's sort of like in the what's the word, like a beer fatigue, where you just sort of like, all right, man, I spent 4 years chasing the newest haze and lining up and getting online to get Banks shit before it sells out in 30 minutes, and then you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna grab their Pilsner because it's fucking great. I don't have to think about it. It's reasonably priced, and it's like this. Yeah, it makes sense though.
Yeah, it does. It's funny. It's kind of like a lot of people say you've gone full circle, but I don't know. I was just thinking about it as you were talking. Then I'm like, it's kind of falling back in love with beer because you love beer. The whole reason you got into beer, and then you got on this massive journey of, oh, I've got to try this, I've got to try that, but you end up going back to, I just like really fucking good beer, and that's why I started this. I started this journey of trying beers and doing that because I wanted to find the best new thing. But sometimes the best new thing is the thing you started with, in a way.
Hell yeah, no, definitely. And we mostly started. What did you start with when you first started drinking beer? What do you remember?
Yeah.
Even if it was whack. but
Like craft beer, you mean, or like macro?
probably macro first, and then maybe the earlier craft beers that you discovered.
Yeah. So macro. I mean, when I was younger, my dad maybe gave me little sips here and there of VB, which was
Classic.
Didn't really love. You got a VB there. Ooh,
Mate,
they're fresh.
the Dunlops. I'm never going to wear them. I just got them, and I spent an absurd amount of money getting Mum to ship them over just to put them in a little fucking glass case. And I got the socks that match.
Probably able to sell them in a couple of years.
That's what I was thinking. I got the Vegemite ones too. Dunlop volleys. How ugly are they? They're fucking ugly, dude.
Yeah.
They look crisper. I got the VB cologne. That's the only cologne I rock is the VB cologne.
Right.
I was trying to, maybe as I got older, I wanted to be attached to my roots, even though I never liked VB. Sorry to interrupt. I just when you said VB, I looked over. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I think it was just like whatever we could get. I mean, it was stuff like VB and stuff like that, just because it's what our dads drank. And then I think the first beer, and then I liked Corona for a little bit, but I don't think I could afford it at the time. I reckon the first beer that when we really started drinking beer as kids, or like when we turned 18, was Hahn Super Dry.
Huh.
Which was...
Forgot about that one. I remember that.
I think it was just because it tasted like nothing.
Yeah.
Really.
What is it, like 3? Or is that 5%?
I don't know. It was a full strength beer. Okay. Yeah, I think it was like 4.8 or something. But it just didn't taste like anything. So we'd have a 6-pack of that, and then we'd have a big thing. We were Southern Comfort and lemonade was a big one when we were younger. So,
Southern Comfort lemonade, that's good.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But it was that, and then I mean the first beers that got me into craft was probably like nearly everyone in Australia was Little Creatures Pale.
Same. Yeah. What, like the pale?
Yeah, pale. When it was in the tall, like the
big 650s or whatever they were.
Yeah.
Even I was drinking them. Do you remember? Hell yeah, they were. Before I moved in 2010 and I lived in South Bank, and there was this like convenience store, mini supermarket thing, mini IGA, whatever, behind my crib, and they used to have it there, and I remember getting that pretty regularly, and thinking, oh man, it was so bitter, and I bet in hindsight now it's like water, but at the time with no palate, I remember just being like ripping my shit off, but like, wow, this is fascinating.
Yeah, and it was
same thing.
That. Yeah, you love that bitterness. Yeah, I reckon like my greatest memory of that beer is I was getting ready for a wedding, and my now wife's sister's partner at the time had 4 of those stubbies in the fridge. So me and him knocked back 2 of them before the wedding. Best wedding I've ever been to, I reckon.
That was smart. Getting going.
Incredible. Yeah, it's so good. That's what I think when I think of Little Creatures Pale. That's all I think of.
That's so sick, man. Is it still around?
Yeah, it's still around.
Is it? I'd be curious. I feel like that'd be funny. Like it
wouldn't be as bitter.
No, of course not. I'm sure it's probably like it was like the Aussie Sierra Nevada Pale Ale type of thing. Like it was the one that everybody. I didn't know what craft beer was. It was just like local and fun and close by, and I was like, I don't know, let's try it type of thing.
Yeah, different.
Yeah.
Sure.
So there's that, and then I guess like, so you sort of proved, I guess, your own point as far as like coming full circle, except for craft. But then I imagine just like when I came over here, I went through when I did that the selfie thing, the 365, the LCBO near me I started off when we did it, I was like, okay, macro garbage, whatever, Coors and Budweiser, Moosehead, and even though Moosehead's not macro, but whatever, all that stuff. And then the next logical step, because I didn't know really any other styles, were all the Euro lagers, so Tuborg and Fax and Weihenstephaner and all the German stuff that at the time I thought was boring, but now I think is the most exciting, coolest thing in the world. And that to me is the real full circle, because the beers that I love the most, like you mentioned the double decoction coming up for the Hellas, which sounds incredible, and I genuinely am more excited for that than Haze right now, and it sounds like you are too. My other favorite brewery here called Godspeed, they do Oh, you know them, yeah. So they're phenomenal, and they do all triple decoction mashes. They got a pitch line barrel from Pilsner Urquell, and they basically did like their version of Pilsner Urquell. So all their taps are LUKRs, like they do Mliko pours and all that stuff. And like, there's nothing better in the world to me than that. And that to me is the equivalent of where we started, but in a it's not really more refined. It's really what it became. This is 200, 300, 400, 500-year-old technology, a LUKR pour, I imagine. But
Yeah.
it's in this new world version coming back to pay tribute to that original stuff that we all drank when we didn't know what the hell we were drinking, which is
definitely
that quality stuff, which is fascinating. Huh. It's cool to think about, though, when you really think about it. I mean, look, the haze is like still like my shit. That's what I drink more. But like, the Crispies, man. Like, particularly if I'm going to go anywhere. Do you have a LUKR tap at the brewery?
Yeah, we've got 3 LUKRs, and then we've got a couple of other side pours, but they're not LUKR brands. I think in total we've got 6 side pours.
Dude, I didn't know. What was it like that when I came by, 2018, whatever it was?
No. We got ours. I think we bought ours during COVID with the idea that when we opened back up, we would roll them,
pump them out. Dude, that's so
they're
sick.
They're awesome.
So you just
best.
keeping Crispies on deck.
Yeah. We've always got a bunch of lagers on now. We had on our Oktoberfest party. We don't do it all the time, but on our Oktoberfest party, I was doing some full milk pours for people and stuff like that. Yeah,
they're the best.
So good.
Dude, they're doing the shooters, doing them as shooters, and you just like, fucking, yeah. It's the best.
Yeah.
One plug that a brewery owner, I won't say who it was, but I can still say this publicly just because I want to out him, but it's genius. He was like, he did this Mliko festival, and that was the weekend we went because we hadn't been to the brewery before to check it out, and he was like, we do Mlikos every day. You just call it a festival and people will come. I'm like, oh, that's genius. Like, but it could be, maybe there's like a lack of, but I still think it was, whilst I understand the marketing side of it, it's like, it's cool because it's new for people. Like, people aren't familiar with what that is. What do you mean a glass of foam for $4.50 or whatever? Like, it makes, like, it's still essentially, by the time if you let it sit, it damn near comes out to be at the very minimum half a glass of beer. By the time it settles, but like, it's just like, it's the closest thing to a gimmick in that world, which isn't a gimmick in Czech, in Prague or whatever, but like, you know, everywhere else, it's like, whoa, it's no different than a crazy hazy IPA or a milkshake or a pastry or a smoothie or something. It's man, that's very cool to know. I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that there was that much of a concentration on Crispies for you. That's great. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think we're not the only ones. There's a few breweries around that have them. Not every brewery has them, but I'd say, I don't know, maybe 10% of breweries in Australia would probably have at least one.
Okay, that's great. It's fantastic news.
I think.
I'll take your word for it. The whole country is depending on it now. If I can't, yeah, it's all on you, Chris. It's all on you. The shit that we were talking about before, I just wanted to, this is more just for, like, we talked about it off air and we sort of touched on it here about the prices in Australia compared to, you know, your experience. You've obviously been to the States a bunch, so you're pretty familiar with that, and you were here pretty recently too, up this side. So I was telling you off air that at the time I was at Carwin in like 2019, and friends were obviously, you know, I'm coming in from out of town, so everyone's trying to shout me drinks, and it was like, I to be fair, it was like a Tool, you know, that Danish brand, Tool, yeah. Is it Tool? Okay. And you know, so tap takeover. So obviously it's not local product, which obviously is more expensive. But like, it was like I told you I think it was $19 for like a full pour. I think it was 19 for like a half pint.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, 19 doesn't sound that expensive.
Yeah, which is even crazy. And that blew my mind that people kept, because I didn't want full pour. I wanted to try more beer. So I was like, no, don't give me a full, get me half. And it was nothing to everybody. Everyone seemed quite used to it. So I was just curious if you could just lay the land for, and you also mentioned something about like a $16, $17 can, which is almost unheard of here unless it's a very intense pastry or something like that. Just to maybe explain the Australian prices as far as sort of like, I know in Australia there's a huge, the excise or whatever, that the alcohol taxes makes up for a pretty insane amount of the the cost of alcohol, I guess syntax,
Yep.
but to a huge degree. Yeah, just to break it down, just to explain to folks how it is.
Yeah, so I mean, the tax part's the easiest part to start from. For a brewery, or for us, or most breweries our size, the tax excise is 50% of our production cost.
Fuck. So straight
So,
to the gov.
yeah, so if it costs us $50 to make a case of beer, it's $25 is going to the ATO.
Not
tax.
include.
So,
Right. Okay, and then
so,
okay, so you have to always incorporate that very strongly. Fuck.
so the other 25% is made up of ingredients and then a small
Labor.
amount of profit, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, labor, and then we're on for profit. It's we're not actually. As far as pricing on beer goes, yeah, it is pretty expensive in Australia, but obviously the wage is generally, people get paid a little bit better over here than what they do maybe as a base wage in sort of America or something.
Yeah.
Like even a just trying to think, a 355 ml can, I'll say like a core beer out of our tap room to go might be $5.
Okay, that's not ridiculous though. To be fair, I'm thinking Godspeed's like $3.75 for a 355 ml.
Okay. Yep.
So that's
Which is probably about the same price because your dollar is stronger than ours, all right?
I don't think so. I'll double check right now while we're talking. CAD to AUD. That's pretty bad. Oh, $1 Canadian is 1.13 Australian dollars.
Yeah.
So that's
probably pretty similar.
Similar-ish. Okay.
Yeah.
But then you guys get paid a lot more than Canadians do.
And then 4-packs, a 4-pack of that same sort of beer would be, maybe $18 or something like that.
Okay.
A single can, we just released a Oat Cream IPA yesterday, which was a collab with One Drop. That, I think a single can of that is, I want to say, it's either $15 or $16, I think, just for a single. And a 4-pack of that would be $45.
Jesus. Now, that is obviously the same economics as far as 50% of it is the tax. And being it's an Oat Cream IPA, the hops, I imagine, would probably make up a bulk of the...
majority of it, yeah. And then
ingredient.
And the other thing too, which I'm not sure if it does the same in Canada or not, because I don't think America does, is alcohol excise in Australia is on a scale. So the lower the ABV, the less tax you pay. The higher the ABV, the more tax you pay.
I don't think so. I think they have a cap. Yeah, there's brackets there. Interesting.
Yeah, so anything under say 3% is very minimal tax. 3, and then it goes 3 to 5, I think, or 5.5, and then it goes like 5 to the other. It's just it's a sliding scale, and then
So once you hit a certain amount, there's the tax is so intense that you have no choice but to sell it for those prices.
Yeah, so if we do a barrel aged pastry stout, if we do or a barrel aged stout, we're charging probably at least $20 a can.
Okay, and what's the is that a thing for any do customers are are you serious, or is it more just okay?
No, it's because it's the same. We're actually on the scale of things, we're not the cheapest, but we're definitely not the most expensive. So
really,
it's I think the most expensive 4-pack. There was a thing going, and it might have even been during COVID. I think the most expensive 4-pack. I think Deeds won that fight. I think they won that trophy. I'd like to say.
Is it a trophy?
I want to say it was like $150 or something.
Fuck off for
how much? Let me.
For
that's bad.
For barrel, if it was for barrel aged stuff, and it was I can't even think of something that would come up to if anything would come to $150.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It would have been. I think it was it was around 100. It might have been 90 or 100.
So that's $4 $25 cans or bottles?
Cans. Yeah.
Cans. I'm just trying, and they would be these 500 ml size.
I think they're 440 mil actually.
Oh yeah, because you guys have the that's the other thing about Aussie beers. I remember in the fridge, there's nothing consistent there. Like here, there's 473 tall boys, 355 shorties, or 330, whatever it is.
Okay.
No, 355. Yeah.
They won't mind me saying this because it's available on the website. A 4-pack of Deeds is once more into the fray is $114 for a 4-pack.
And what is it?
$114.
I'm sorry. What's the style?
Oh, it's barrel aged stout.
Okay.
It's nearly 14%, 440 mil. Or if you want a discount, you get a 60-pack for $389.
Bro,
but that's the cost of beer in this country. Like, I'm only laughing because that's actually
no. You're not. I'm not taking to that. You're making fun. I'm not making fun either. It's just shocking to hear.
They're not overpricing. That's just what it costs to make beer in this country. It's wild.
That's for Jesus Christ. And this is also when you were talking about your favorite beers growing up. Corona was one of mine as well. And I remember going to I think it was called, was it LUKR, the thing that was attached to Coles? Yeah, LUKR. And $19 for a 6-pack of Corona in when I was 18, 19, 20, 20 years ago. And I was like, Jesus, that is ridiculous. But if we were bowling out, we would go and get the $19 6-pack when you could get, I didn't even know what else I would drink in lieu of that. Heineken probably was maybe $12 or something. And then just not, or 14, but 19 for Corona was ridiculous. And now that's for one.
Probably the same price now, Corona.
Really? That's pretty funny.
Probably 6-packs. It's 25.
Okay, so it hasn't. So over 20 years or so, it's gone up by $6. I remember $19 so explicitly because when you're 20 years old, you don't have much money, and that you want bang for your buck, and you could get sometimes on Win you get a case of Heineken for $40 or something. So you'd rock that. That's fascinating.
Look out for those little imports, the tiny green ones.
Yeah.
From Heineken's.
Yeah.
I remember when we used to get them. We thought we were so fancy, so good.
Man, we had no idea back in the day. None of us did. But it was fun because we were innocent and we didn't know shit. But it's if people are used to it, it is what it is. It's interesting. I mean, look, even here, I don't know, even to comparison, say some of the better one, Third Moon or Badlands out here in Ontario that are killing it. I mean, if you got it direct from them and didn't, because I buy it from where I'm at is an hour from Toronto, so it's a city, but it's I get it from a cafe because they open during COVID. They let cafes in Ontario, cafes, restaurants, and bars sell to go cans and bottles and stuff of wine and beer, not spirits, but those two. And my favorite cafe here, he has the best fridge in the province, so he would get all the stuff. So I buy it from him, but if I bought it directly from the brewery, I would have to buy it in 4-packs or some sort of predetermined thing. So I'm happy to pay he doesn't gouge anybody on the price. He raises it by $1 or $2 top. So I don't mind paying that premium to get 1 as opposed to 4. So I'm paying, I think for $7.75, something like that, maybe for or $8 up to maybe $8.50 for a fire double IPA type of thing. So, so it's about half the price. Of a straight, and then
it would all be tax. Yeah.
For the difference, right? Which now you put it like that, you're right. So even here, there's a big thing about the tax, which is what I got confused and maybe we were talking about. Was there's a big campaign right now to say in Ontario, it's say there's a 60-cent tax and then another 60-cent tax for, I forgot what they're for. So basically $1.20 before you even get started. Then this other 9-cent tax. But in Alberta, it's 10 cents for the same thing. So and the difference is though that here they're not charging the same price as they are there. So there's they're not making much money, and there's breweries that are just on the edge, posting that, hey, we're down. There's one of a great brewery out here that posted yesterday or the day before, we're down to a skeleton crew, we want to keep doing this. It's just we need to sell. And their beer is fantastic, and I think it's just sign of the times. People are just really struggling to get through, and just there's a big campaign from the provincial like board. You know, have the beer bodies. I imagine there's like a Victorian one in New South Wales. Yeah, what's it called there? So it's not that serious then. If you don't know the name of it, it's not that serious. That means they're not that impactful in your day to day as far as like.
No, there's just like there's the IBA and stuff like that.
Is that federal? National. Okay.
Well, it's an independent association, so it's
That's the little logo on the can.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Nah.
No, I get it.
We do.
No, not in these ones anyway. This one, no. Either way, they're trying to basically fix that. They like say this on to OCB, Ontario Craft Brewers Association, which is like, and there's like, you know, AMBQ is like Association de Bière de Quebec, whatever the fuck, Microbrasserie de Quebec. So like that, each province has them. Then there's like a federal one, same as the states. You know, Colorado Brewers Guild, Florida Brewers Guild, and then the Brewers Association. So it's the same setup. So the Ontario one is petitioning the government right now to try and get changes and to change a bunch of stuff. So there's a real big thing about, you know, letting them sell in convenience stores as well and blah blah blah. So there's a whole big thing about that right now to essentially make producing beer more profitable and a little bit more equitable across the country, when some provinces are paying 10 cents while another province is paying $1.20, and that difference over scale of volume of products is very, very impactful. So like, you know, there's a big thing like that. So is there anything happening in Australia to you know, do something about combat that? 50%. It's a lot, man.
I mean, like what you were saying before, and I sort of misunderstood what you were saying. Yes, so there's not statewide ones; it's just the IBA.
Gotcha.
So then they go and, you know, rally to the
federal government.
About anything and everything. They haven't had great luck with a lot of things, and you know, our alcohol excise, it goes up every quarter and has gone up every quarter for like the last 30 years. So literally, it increases every time. So
is that like the ciggies? Like, you know, is that like cigarettes? How like cigarettes are now like $50 a pack or something? And they were $5 when I smoked when I was 15.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So same thing. So it's just, it goes up every quarter, and they've been, you know, saying, one, you need to put it on hold. Like the IBA say, you need to stop raising this. Like the prices are getting out of control, but they're not stopping. Just, you know, every quarter just goes up by another percentage. So there is some breweries that literally will do, and they'll literally do a price rise every time the IBA put one out. They'll go, well, you know, due to excise updates, our prices are now updated by that amount. There is also now which has just come in, and Victoria was the last state to bring it in, but the CDS, which is the container scheme. So it's where you get a refund when you take your cans.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, but I think a lot of people don't know that the people that pay for that is the producers. So we pay for that.
Right.
So we have to lodge every single can that we produce and sell. We have to pay that 10-cent rebate on. So, which if you're seeing your beer prices go up, there is generally the correlation there is because the government has brought in this 10-cent refund. So you're paying the same amount because the breweries that have upped their prices because they had to, because now, you know, they have to pay this money to the government. So, yeah. And the problem is, you know, we pay it on every can that goes out, but I would honestly think it's probably 2 to 3% of people that are actually going and doing the refund.
I didn't even know you could do that.
So where's the money going? Where's the rest of the money going?
Whoever the Prime Minister's pockets, I guess, now. Who's the Prime Minister?
Yeah, it's a bit of... Albanese.
You have to think about it. It's so good.
We've had so many changes.
I know, man. I'm not making fun of you at all. I'm saying
none of them have done anything worth remembering. So hopefully this one does something good.
Jesus Christ, dude. That's great. Is that can container thing? Is that new? Because growing up, that wasn't a thing. You know how it used to say, 10 cents if you it doesn't have it. If you took it back to South Australia.
Yes.
Remember that shit?
Our can should say that on the label.
Oh, 10 cents refund at collection depots in participating state, territory, or province. So it didn't used to say that. That's not what it used to say at all. It used to be printed on here on the top.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. So our cans have said that, but South Australia used to be the only state that did it, and then Queensland brought one in, and then Queensland and New South Wales brought one in, and then WA brought one in, and then Victoria were one of the last ones to come on. The biggest problem, like, we're all for recycling. The biggest issue is every state has a different scheme. So the amount of paperwork, it's not one thing.
Body you have to remit to.
Every single new beer which for a brewery like ours, it does new beer. That's a nightmare. You have to upload every barcode of every beer that you produce in every state, and then send off monthly paperwork to every one of those container scheme people to then receive a bill and then pay the bill, and they're just not making it easier. And that's one thing the IBA are lobbying for, not to get rid of container scheme, but to make it one streamlined
national body. Yep, that makes complete sense.
Which it should.
But
which just makes me think that it's state government that's just getting the money. The rest of the money is just because if they're not going to make that, so
they're just hanging on to it. Yeah. So
it's the whole
interesting, dude. That's so crazy. They have one. There's this thing called the beer store here. So there's the LCBO, Liquor Control Board of Ontario, which is the biggest alcohol purchaser in the world. That's where only place you can buy spirits, but you get beer and wine there. Then there's the beer store, and it was government owned, and then it got bought by I think it's Sapporo, Molson, and something like that. Like it's ridiculous that the only other place to buy beer is owned by these macro producers, and they have the refund scheme. So basically you get 10 cents for every can. So they've been doing it here forever. In Quebec, they don't do it because people actually recycle here, but apparently in Ontario, people weren't recycling. So they made a stronger scheme to bring it back. And I'm looking at I got those little recyclable bags right there, and I chuck them in there and take them back. And it makes me feel like I can't not do it because it just feels like you're recycling money if you don't. And even if I'll take enough back that I'll get $20, and I know I don't use cash for anything, but I don't know, you just put it in your wallet and you're like, all right, sweet, whatever, it's got some cash, okay, just in case you need it. But I like the idea of it because it makes me do it. It's pretty easy once you do it. It doesn't take too long or whatever, but I love when I moved here and discovered it, it's just what everybody did. You just do it. It's not even a thing. You just take it back. What do you mean you're just putting it away? Throwing it in recycling. And then I was always like, man, that sucks that growing up, I didn't have that. So it makes me very happy to hear that that exists. It's a shame that they make it hard for you.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And every single producer's going through it. It's just, I think that's the problem is the cost of beer, the cost of ingredients, CDS, everything the perfect storm has just come all at once, which has made people go, shit, beer's expensive, I'm not going to buy it. And then breweries have gone, oh crap, people aren't buying our beer, we've got all these extra costs. It's just everything is just, coming at once, and it's okay. And that's why, there's some that are doing it really tough. But speaking on the can thing, it's funny, we went away camping last week with my family to a caravan park, and the amount of kids that are running around scavenging through the cans, the bins for cans, and then going to the collection things. It's cool. They're getting, they've all got gloves on, and they're making a whole thing of it, and they're making bank. These kids are making good coin.
Good for
that's
them.
What I would prefer to. Exactly. That's what I would prefer to see. Kids going to do that stuff, and yes, if you're going to spend the money, get your money back. But I'd rather those cans that people aren't going to do, because obviously they're just putting them in the recycling bins, and then the recycling company's taking them away. Mm-hmm. I'd rather see the kids, definitely,
hell yeah.
Why not? But,
dude, that's
hustlers,
awesome.
Entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Young entrepreneurs, little 8-year-olds. Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Yeah. Here, it's I don't know why, and it's literally just Asian people. There's always Asian people walking the streets on midnight taking the thing. I'm like, hey man, hustle. And they're usually older. They're just probably retired people just being like smart, really going through it and taking them. So I love seeing that for kids. I love that. That's very cool, man.
It'd be cool. So it'd be nice
the new,
if the rest of the money that wasn't used maybe went to I don't know, homeless or something like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, something that's useful for society, something like that, or fixing the roads or whatever, something that actually education, something that contributes back. Yeah, that's dope. Let me get into this bad boy. So this was the second one I hung on to. The Pastry Stout. Sees this one. I'm only having these 2 beers tonight. Honestly, this is such a good name. Don't chase me. I'm buzzed and full of chocolate. So stupid. I fucking love it. What's that from? Simpsons. Oh yeah, of course. And it's,
I think it's Ralph Wiggins.
Of course, it's Ralph.
Is Wiggins? Ralph.
Wigg. Yeah, like the Chief's son. Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe it's the Chief. I can't even remember. I'm not a massive Simpsons guy. One of our guys here is.
I love it. This is ridiculous. So the other one I showed before that, Relax on a Regular here, was a fantastic pastry. So I very much was looking forward to this one. Now, this has a pretty intense lineup of toasted cacao, nibs, Tahitian vanilla beans, Rio Grande Estate coffee from Dramana's, Little Rebel, and our good old mate Lactose.
Nice.
This one looks like it was canned in March last year, 2023.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the pastries, brother. It smells great.
Another thing that we sort of, do a lot of, or have created a bit of a following for, is pastry stouts. Again, there wasn't a lot of people doing them when we first started with the big heavy adjunct stouts. We like to really emphasize like a big long boil to try and get real sort of viscous and big mouthfeel and body. And it's got a fair bit of lactose in there. We have that sort of concept of really high starting gravity, but still very high finishing gravity. So there is, it is quite a bit of sweetness, but I think it's balanced by the alcohol and everything else that goes on in that beer. With cacao nibs and coconut and all that sort of stuff, we just toast it in-house on our pizza oven here. And, we obviously make adjunct stouts, but we don't use adjuncts. We use all real ingredients. So if there's cacao nibs on the label or coconut or biscuits or coffee or whatever, it's actual products. So I haven't had that beer in a long time, so I don't know how it's...
dude, that's great. I love it, dude. This is fantastic. So it's like you've made it so it's not like sometimes it's like it's syrupy. This is not syrupy. For the ABV, like 12.7, that's pretty high. That's higher than most ones here. In Canada, the max is typically 11.9, but 11.9, if you know what I'm saying. And so it's it's full bodied. The nose is crazy. The nose is mostly coffee and coconut. Wicked mouthfeel. Like it's the chocolate is obviously front and center. The coconut is usually kind of plays the background a bit, right? Like it never really.
Is there coconut in that?
Mm-hmm.
Is there coconut in that beer?
You are. Do you know why? Cacao, coconut. I completely. I'm lying to you. Vanilla. There's like a little vanilla-y tang in the back end there. Yeah. A little like dark fruits. Potentially from the coffee.
Yeah, definitely. We with all our pastry stouts, we keep it really simple on the malt bill. Like it's just base malt, and then we don't use roasted malt. We just use chocolate malt. Okay. And a little bit of oat, and then that's pretty much how we keep it. We keep it super simple, so we can just let the adjuncts do its thing, and really sort of slow, drawn out fermentation to not try and get like that alcohol heat. But the biggest thing for us is the boil. We boil for a long time to really sort of drive off any off flavors, but also to really, really build on that body and mouthfeel.
The mouthfeel is crazy. Really enjoy that. It's I expected more of a meal in a can, but this is a lot more approachable. Sometimes that's what you want, but I know tonight doing 2 ones back to back like this, which I've done a few times before, and man, I'm going hard. Usually I have So today's Thursday night there. I know it's Friday there. On Wednesdays, I call them like Big Beer Wednesdays because I, just like I imagine you do, I have a pretty insane cellar of stuff. And I'm realizing that unless I allocated a time or an evening to just drink big 10 plus beers, I'm not drinking them shits, bro. That's hence the triples. So I do Wednesdays only. I drink the big beers. So I usually would drink 2 stouts. And I found that if I wait till after dinner, like don't drink before dinner. If I have, I'm a vampire, so like, you know, we stay up kind of late. So if I have 2 beers after dinner, I could easily do 2 10% cans, or usually it's 11.9. When I say easily, like I'm lit, but I'm like, I'm fine, like it's all good. So it's
happy.
I'm happy, I'm good, sleep well, wake up a little rough, and you know, you just get back in business. Just keep doing it all again. Hence, that's why I did it last night, and I was like, well, I'm doing it tonight. Let's fucking go. So it's this is dope, man, and I love the coffee. Obviously, Melbourne is the home of third wave coffee, which I found. Did you know that?
I didn't.
So
I didn't even know what third wave coffee was until I reckon one of our it was a couple of years ago, trip to the States. I'd heard it. I'm like, I don't know what that is, but yeah.
Okay, so my cousin told me about it. He does coffee stuff in Melbourne, so I only discovered it over here. I drank hot chocolates in Melbourne like a dickhead, and then came over here, and then discovered slowly into coffee. Now, like I would take a coffee over beer. I love coffee that much. It's the best. And Montreal was probably the closest thing to Melbourne for whatever reason, but Melbourne is just. Have you been to Patricia Cafe in it's like on a little laneway in the city? No, bro. It's the greatest place.
I don't really.
No, you're not a coffee guy? Oh, you live in
I'm a massive coffee guy. No, to that. I've been umming and ahhing for the last I reckon year about buying a coffee machine, like a new coffee machine. Because my old ones, I've had it for ages and it's clapped out. So I went this morning and got myself hooked up a new coffee machine.
What'd you get? Did you get a banger?
It's a nice one. Yeah, I got a Rocket, an Italian one.
I know the ones. Yeah. Good one.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's good.
Hell yeah.
Found an ex-demo one that this guy was selling at his shop and gave me a good deal. So that's where you want to be. That's what you want. The one I want, my cousin showed me, it's like $7,000. So I don't know how to. It's like the La Marzocco. It's the one they use in a cafe that's like that big, like the big La Marzocco, but you can get the linear mini, like a little one, $7,000. Yeah.
Fuck, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. But Patricia, if you ever are in the city, they've got like 4 drinks on the menu. Like it's like a pour over, like a cappuccino, a latte, and something else. That's it. Like lines out the door. There's no seating. You only stand up. You rock up, and they go fucking boom. Like I give you a glass of sparkling water. So like boom. Yeah. What do you need? Boom, and you sit. It's every time I've been to Melbourne, my cousin took me there. I'm like, he knows them all, and he's all like, I guess he goes there all the time, and they do the trivia and the paper. He's like flirting with these like 20-year-olds, and he's like older than me. And it's like, it's very funny. It's like the best experience ever. It's the greatest, dude. Like we want to open, like the goal, even though there's no money in it, but like the passion project would be to have a little cafe like that, standing room only, and have a series of Melbourne themed cafes, like named after different places in Melbourne. It's it's fucking sick, man. But like, I love that you got this, and also Dramatis. Obviously, it's in your area and stuff. And I'm familiar with Little Rebel. They got they have a cafe, or they're a roaster. Yeah, they have a cafe.
Roaster. Well, they do at their roastery. Yeah, I think they're one of our favorite. We got a sweet little deal going with them. We supply them beer, they supply us coffee. So we work hand in hand. But their coffee is excellent. There's them and probably 2 other coffee roasters on the peninsula that we really, work closely with and have really good relationships with. But yeah, their coffee is fire. Yeah.
Who are the other ones? I'm trying to keep up. Sometimes some places here get Australian coffee, so I'm always trying to keep up on it.
Yeah, the other 2 that we work with is Prodigal.
Okay.
Prodigal Coffee Roasters. They make excellent coffee, and also Common Folk, another one that we work with.
Common Folk. Okay.
Yeah, they're probably the 3. They're the 3 that I buy coffee from. It's Melbourne. There's coffee roasters all over the place, and I'm probably leaving, some out. But there's the 3 that we've got the relationships with, and we really like their products. So
And this one with Prodigal.
That's Prodigal. Yeah.
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 Love that. Okay, sick. Sometimes places here just there's a few really cool spots that like just get cool things from all over the world. So sometimes I rock up and there's stuff from Sydney or Gold Coast or Melbourne or whatever. But yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's extra authentic, to be honest, because you're a coffee guy, which is just found out, but that's great. And the fact that it's the coffee capital, rocking with coffee beers. But yeah, dude, this is crazy. This is like when I was pouring this, like you can see through it, so it's almost like it's like a deep brown as opposed to like just motor oil. And the body on this is as if it was pouring like motor oil. Like this is fantastic. I'm gonna be pretty fucking lit after all this. I'm all right now, but I'm like, oh, this is gonna be it's gonna be hectic.
I'm gonna have to say I've got a can kicking around.
Yeah. Well, if you do find one, being that this is 10 months old, and to be fair, I kept them in the fridge the entire time. Everything I got, I put them immediately in the fridge, and they never left the fridge. I drank everything but these two within a week of getting it. Yep. Because I wanted it to be as fresh as possible, because I knew that it's not every day I'm going to get fresh Banks. So I was like, I'm going to drink all this fucking shit like ASAP. Because sometimes you go, I want to like, every time I had my big, savor it. I had the big Stout Wednesday. I looked at this every time. I'm like, not now. I'm going to save it. So I'm glad I did, because it made the pod a little more authentic, which is what I wanted. But yeah, man, this is really cool. So how often would you say you would do pastries?
We've toned them back a bit. In COVID again, we were doing a lot. We're probably doing maybe 6 a year at that stage, I'd say, of like big ones like that. Now we're probably maxing out at like 2 to 3 a year.
Huh. Why is that? They're just not popping like that?
They just, I think they're very much that one and done beer. People want to try them. They don't, buy a lot of cellar or anything like that. Nah,
particularly pastries, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So the less we do, the better. And that way also we can spend a bit more on what we're putting in them and price them, appropriately. So we can make it really sort of pop and bang. So instead of maybe doing 4 to 6 a year and going, we're going to have to move this one, so we have to price this a bit cheaper and not put this amount of ingredients in and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
So yeah, it's able to make them really sort of really hit. So we're actually got on the schedule to do. I think our first one's coming up soon to brew it. We normally give them about 6 weeks or so from brew day to package. But we put one into some whiskey barrels, because we've done a couple of pastry stouts in whiskey barrels, which have gone really well for us. So we've got one that we got some fresh barrels from the Gospel Whiskey, which is a distillery in northern Melbourne, which is they make some really cool rye whiskey. So pretty pumped to see how it turns out.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I was about to ask, have you ever done? You've obviously done barrel aged before.
Yeah, we're not like we're not a boat rocker or anything like that. We don't make it our main focus. We try and do one a year, and that seems to be the sweet spot for us. We've got some beer in barrels at the moment down there. We've got that stout that I've just talked about. We had some bourbon barrels that we got in from Kentucky that we used, I think, 3 or 4 times, and then they were starting to get a little bit. They were losing their flavour, so gotcha. We put a kettle sour into them, just a basic kettle sour, just to see what it did. And the only way I can describe that beer is, like, I just call that beer pleasant. If we ever package that beer, it's called pleasant, because it's the most pleasant thing I've ever tasted.
Okay.
It's not like it's not the most wowing thing ever, or the most flavoursome, or the most, but like it's so pleasant.
That's awesome.
The problem is pleasant doesn't sell. So, we can do something with it. We just haven't decided what. But they've been in there for a while. And they're coming on like maybe getting close to 24 months, I reckon. In there.
Okay. I mean, would that be like a bottle release? Or... Yeah. Would that be like? Would you do bottles, or would you just can that bad boy?
Nah, I think we probably have to do bottles or even just maybe keg only or something because I don't want to run it through our canning line because
The
I was
funk.
on a forklift. I was on a forklift actually moving the barrels around a couple of months ago, and I knocked the bung off the top of it, and I just was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a look inside," and there was like a pellicle on the inside.
A
So
what?
there wasn't supposed to be a pellicle. So what forms in like barrel aged beers, barrel aged sour beers. Um, Basically like it's kind of like a form of mold growing on top, but like good mold,
Okay.
which is what I'm not an expert on barrel aged sours, but is what happens to most barrel aged sour beers. But yeah, so I don't really want to put that through our canning line, run the risk of having issues. I know there's a lot of people
I
that
get
do
it.
these days, and yeah, cleaning regime's pretty good, but I just don't think it's worth the risk. So
Yeah,
see what
I've
happens.
I've heard that a lot. That makes sense. That makes complete sense. That's pretty dope though that you're doing that. Have you noticed then on that note? One thing I've noticed that there's a few breweries here that are closing recently, have already closed or whatever, and some of the characteristics they're doing like either barrel aged like farmhouse or barrel aged sours. That seems to be something that is like fucking nosedived. Like
Yeah,
there's a brewery here called Stillfields that was an ex Bellwoods brewer started, and I only tried their beer recently because we did a podcast about breweries that were closing, which sucks, but and that's what took me to go and buy their beer because the store that I have here had a bunch of their still does have a bunch of their bottles, so I probably will get some more of their stuff just to try it, but it's not really my jam. But when you drink them, it's like cool. Have you noticed any sort of like what's the word, consistencies between any of the breweries that are maybe going it a bit hard recently, like anything like that? Or because I just feel like maybe it's like the market for barrel aged sours seems to have just dissipated and been more niche than ever. So
yeah,
or like who can really justify, particularly over COVID, right? You got all these buy these 750s, and then you're like, well, I can't. Even though you probably could, but I can't drink this by myself. And all of a sudden, you've got a cellar, or you got all these beers that you feel like you can't drink because
yeah,
750s feel like a special occasion when they kind of shouldn't. That's one of the problems. But typically, barrel aged or farmhouse beers to come in those packaging. So,
yeah.
yeah. Is there anything like that you've noticed?
Yeah. I think like I don't think the Australian scene in that beer style ever took off the way it has
Okay.
overseas. There's definitely some breweries that do that, and do. There's some breweries that solely focus on that sort of style, but then there's also some breweries that sort of clean breweries that then also had offshoot products of
Okay.
that, and I've definitely noticed in the last few months those offshoot product, which they generally would put under a different brand like banner, but like it wouldn't if we were Banks, it wouldn't then come under Banks sour beer. It'd be like what's the opposite of Banks? I don't know.
Cash?
Water.
No. Vault?
No, that is
Not
Banks.
off. No, that is money. You're right.
Uh, anyway, whatever it is,
Yeah, I can't think.
it'd be trees brewing or something like that.
Gotcha.
So, but I have noticed that I haven't seen a lot of the releases from a lot of those breweries, but then I know of one that has moved. I don't know if they've shut or just moved. That was in that, within that sort of that circle. There is some still soul-based sour breweries kicking around. I couldn't speak to how things were going for them or what their sort of volumes were or output. I think a lot of them have like solid membership programs that they have set up, which really
Smart.
helps for them. They work on a membership basis, really sort of working with that crowd that they have and keeping them entertained in that space. I mean, breweries in general at the moment, everyone's doing it kind of tougher than they ever have before. But yeah, I think that scene is definitely one that's definitely not in a growth period. And
Yeah.
especially like all the podcasts and everything I listen to, and even on recent trips like to the states that I've had, like there was times where we would go to sour breweries, and then on the most recent trips, like we didn't go to any sour breweries. And I've heard in the states that it's in a massive decline. So
Yeah, I saw what's the one? Rare Barrel. Rare Barrel got bought by Cellar Maker.
oh right,
So I heard they got. I mean,
that was
Cellar
probably
Maker.
one of my favorites.
Yeah, I never actually had any, but I heard they were great.
Rebranding.
Yeah, at least they were
Yeah,
bought by
we went
another. Sorry.
yeah, we went there in I don't know, 2019 or yeah, I think it's 2019. Yeah, it was awesome. Like
Yeah,
the
it's
beers
killer.
were amazing. Yeah,
Hell
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I've heard great things, but at least they were bought by another craft brewery, another Bay Area
yeah, a
craft brewery,
local.
a local rather than like a multinational. But yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know about Jester King how they're holding up, but I've just sort of I feel like one of the main consistencies that I've heard was that it's just people doing that as maybe either if it's not all they do, but it's a lot of what they do, are kind of like doing it hard. It's just like that style. Like if it didn't take off in Australia, I feel like the ones that do it in North America are the ones that are like really known for it, like the Jester King, like Hill Farmstead, like Orval in Quebec. Um, that's their jam and that's what they're all about. And then those ones,
yeah,
I don't. I mean, I went to Hill Farmstead in August and met Sean Hill. We hung out with him. He was a champion. And the when I was there, I was like, all right, let me get some bottles. So I grabbed, I think, like 4 bottles, and I think I had one of them for an Arthur with Cascade, New Zealand Cascade for New Year's Eve. I had that, and I was like, Jesus Christ, man, why didn't I drink this stuff more? Like, I feel like every time I have a great bottle of farmhouse stuff, I was like, man, why didn't I drink this more? And I just feel
mm,
like maybe there isn't that much great stuff. And it felt like it was an experience. It was New Year's. We just stayed home. It was super low key, but I was like, it was super enjoyable to
yeah,
actually sit there and drink that beer. You know what I mean? Like really soak it up.
yeah. Definitely. I think they're definitely more situated to like a special occasion sort of beer,
Yeah,
and not as sort of sessionable. Sort of, yeah, definitely look more in the wine sort of wine lane.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like like we went to Jester King in not last year but the year before, and like they had. I think they had 2 or 3 IPAs on, a couple of lagers. It's like
Oh,
so they're not
really?
just doing yeah, they're not just doing it, and they were good. Like they were good IPAs and good lagers. So
Okay.
yeah, obviously having to whether they have to or
Diversify.
they just are branching out. Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, they were good.
Interesting.
They were really good.
Okay, that's good to know. I never even considered that they would be
Mm.
doing other stuff. Okay, so there's no real like uh, anything you've noticed there, but as far as like obviously over here, we were talking off air a little bit about this, but there's a lot of breweries that are either closing, merging is another interesting one we're seeing a lot of, um, but I imagine that it sounds like the whole from what I've even talking to Aussie friends back home and I'm looking on the news and around and I'm seeing the same things like you said interest rates you mentioned that earlier people are paying back all this free money that everyone got the last few years and everything's kind of in this sort of unfortunate economic downturn. What's the general brewing scene like as far as is it we're talking about the taxes and all that stuff, which is one thing, but what's the scene like? Are we seeing a lot of closures and mergers in Australia? Are breweries worried? Is there a lot of talk amongst your peers and colleagues? Like, what's the general vibes over there now?
Yeah, I think there hasn't been a ton of closures. There's been a few people
Great.
go into voluntary administration,
Okay.
which they've found ways to come out of.
Okay.
I there has been a few closures. I think that unfortunately, I think there will be more. I, I the whole vibe in the industry at the moment is it's interesting. Like we keep we keep sort of talking about trying to figure out ways to like make it fun again and reinvigorate. Just there's a lot of people that are just they seem tired. They're
Mm,
and I think everyone is. It's been a rough 5 years. Like
hell yeah, it
a
is.
lot of these businesses were in growth stage or like startup stage and growth stage, and then COVID. Either you were getting money and from the government and had to deal with laid off staff or did other things and like as everyone said pivoted and did that and then came out of it thinking everything's going to be great again and then it's good for maybe 2 months and then it falls in a hole and then in this last year it's even gone back further. So I think a lot of people, I think there is a lot of scared people or concerned people about how things are going. yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more closures, unfortunately. But like the realistic part of that is it's not new to the beer industry, and it's not just the beer industry. It's it's business in general. Like I think a lot of breweries, maybe COVID gave them another couple of years, possibly, and not just breweries. I mean, businesses in general. When things were maybe not looking as good for some of them, but yeah, it's going to be interesting because it's definitely going to be another tough 6, 12, 18 months before things really start to turn around. And yeah, look, sales are well down. Everyone you speak to, like every single person, you're in between. I'd be surprised that, like, obviously there'll be some outliers there, but I'd be surprised if most breweries weren't down at a minimum of 10%.
Okay.
Minimum.
So 10 is that bad?
To some that are 10%. Oh.
Not great, obviously, but like I thought you were going to say like 50.
No. Well, I was going to say there would be breweries that were at 50.
Right.
Definitely. And I think a lot of people are sort of jumping out of the industry too at the moment, which is an interesting one. Like I think a lot of people got into the industry for the love of beer and the industry. And it's not the hardest industry to work in, but it's also not the easiest. You got to grind and hustle, and you got to always be on your feet and keep reinventing yourself and keep thinking, and be in front of people and be at events. And yeah, it's not as glamorous as what it's made out to be, but it's like I still think it's a really awesome industry to be in.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I think it's having in one sense it's having a bit of a natural reset.
Okay, I was going to ask then. That's a really great point. So when you say a reset, do you feel that maybe there was an over influx of capital? Yeah, like so many people say, oh, I want to start a brewery. Like everyone's fucking saying that for a while because it was cool, right? It was cool to start a brewery. It looked easy or whatever. Yeah. And then what I was sort of going to get at was like, do you think that it's going to be, the cream rises to the top type of shit? Do you think the best ones are going to survive and then the ones that maybe are underperforming are going to dip? Because I feel like here, the breweries that have closed, there was one in particular was one of the best. And there was other ones that I've seen recently that are posting that they're in dire straits are also fantastic. So I'm not seeing... I don't want to cast like a value judgment or whatever, but I mean, I guess you could sort of, we're all pretty familiar, because there's like some breweries that just like one brewery in that town or city, Australia's set up pretty similar to Canada. It's very sparse land with, a bunch of major cities and kind of small towns in between, as opposed to the States, which is so much bigger. Sometimes there's a one brewery town, and that town will do anything to save that brewery, no matter how mid that brewery is.
Yeah,
it's what that means to the culture of the town and what it means to the community, as opposed to the quality of the products. It could be all fucking amber ales and blonde ales and shit, and like to me, we're just going to be that's not great, but the town loves the place. Whereas like there's a brewery called Barncat here that they closed in the summer last year in like August, and it was devastating because they did the first haze in Ontario. They were like OGs and pastry stouts. Their pastry stouts were some of the best, and it was so fucking sad that they closed. So to me, that's even more devastating that one of the best breweries that could have possibly closed happened to close. So are you seeing any trends as far as the ones that are in trouble, without saying names or any particular maybe value judgments, but like kind of more of a, I'm seeing that this type, is there any like correlations? You're saying this type of business is failing and this type of business isn't, or something like that at all?
Yeah, I think having a specific, like having a decent brew pub is definitely,
important.
And like, I think it's important just for, like, more than anything for when your wholesale's not going well. Like, there's been times that in our lifespan that the brew pub has held up the wholesale, or held up the business because of wholesale, and there's been times where wholesale side of the business because the brew pub might not be doing that well. I think to do it well, you need both.
Diversification.
Or to feel safe and comfortable, you need both. I also think massively it comes down, a lot of it comes down to luck. Like if you just had a stellar 3 years and then went, you know what, we're going to invest in a brewery upgrade and we're going to take out, you've made, just for interest's sake, say you made $1 million profit in a year and you go, well, $1 million profit in that year, that's, we might as well do a brewery upgrade, and you spend $2 million and then the next year you're 50% down on that, then pretty easy math to go, oh crap, we have a lot of money out, and then you're also probably employing more people and this and that. So I think it comes down to a lot of things like your financial position, how much debt you've taken on, whether I don't know how much people you're sort of bringing in to do different tasks, and or just that's one thing that we've sort of tried to do is keep very hands-on and still keep small, because like small and nimble, and we can change when we need to. We can never sort of really get in over our own head in a way, and hopefully that puts us in good stead for like future. But yeah, I don't know. I think it really, honestly, without our brew pub for the last 6 months or so, it would have been a lot tougher. We would have been fine, but it would have been a lot tougher. It's definitely the brew pub. Like, it's felt like even though people didn't have a huge amount of money to spend, they were probably not spending their money on as many takeaways. They still wanted to hang out somewhere, meet with friends, and have a good time, and get value for money. Now, like, our brew pub is pretty reasonably priced for what's around. Like, to be able to get, like, you can come in and get, a pizza and a couple of beers, or say 2 pizzas and, a few beers for under $50, and there's not a lot of places. Yeah, there's not a lot of places around that you can do that. So, and
the quality that you're doing.
Yeah, well, we hope so. Yeah, that's what we're trying for. So,
see, that's great. I mean, that's almost like the antithesis to the packaged products that's just straight fucking tax, and then ingredient costs. Like it's almost the polar, not the polar opposite of that, but that's really cool to hear that maybe for people over here are seeing or hearing the prices and like, oh, that's kind of wild, but you got to understand people are earning more money there. But to know that that's like a, I guess that's part of it, right? Offering a good deal for people to come out, because people do want to go out. People are still in the last, I would say only the summer of well, I guess it's different over there, isn't it? But summer over here of 2023, so June through August, September, whatever, of 2023 was the first full summer of things being open with no restrictions. So that means probably the summer that you're dealing with now would be the first full summer. Is that accurate, or would it have been the one beforehand in Australia? End of 2022 into...
we had a full summer last year, but it was sort of
people were hesitant.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so then here I feel so maybe even it was open in 2022. I don't know, it's all a blur, I guess, for all of us. But I feel like people were saying 2023, even for us, because we'd been laying low in Montreal, but we bought a house and we moved provinces and we did all this stuff. So we laid pretty low, but in summer 2023, we tried to be out here. We tried to go every weekend, tried to go to a winery, a different brewery. We did a 10-day trip through New England, tried to go across the border over to Buffalo and Rochester, just see and just try and do as much as possible and see different stuff and go see people and go to different areas and explore a bit and invest. If we're going to spend money, it's important to spend in that local economy. And I hope that people feel the same out there, that if you're going to come and if you're going to go out and you're going to spend money on something, go invest in a local business. Go and go if you're in the area what'd you call it again, dude? What's the area called? I know it's Seaford, but what'd you call the general area? The peninsula. Peninsula.
Yeah.
If you're out there, go to a local business and invest the money in a local restaurant, local brewery. Give them the money. Don't go to some other place that's some sort of chain or whatever. The small businesses are what holds the community together. So I wonder if people are slowly realizing that as well. And I guess I'm saying that to say that the ones that are going to make it through are the ones that are really fostering that community and that are like sort of those hubs of these local communities. And they sort of, it's like because you've got such a wide distribution footprint, but also a strong brew pub. It's like you've got and kind of what you were saying, they supplement each other. Those two businesses, they make up for where one is maybe lacking. That's beautiful because you're sort of holding it down for the locals, but then you're able to provide something fun and exotic to someone in Perth can go and get the beer I'm drinking right now or could have. And that's sick. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's fun. So they've you're providing the fun to other people around the country, getting that brand recognition. If someone in Brisbane's going, I'm going to Melbourne for the weekend. Fuck yeah, I'm going down to Seaford and going to check out Banks. Like, I love these guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why we've started in the last 12 months also doing like a very small amount of export as well. So just to
to where?
To do that exact same thing for overseas. We do a little bit to Thailand, Japan, Hong Kong. Got our first orders going to Taiwan on Monday, and we have done Singapore before as well.
Amazing. There's a country you didn't mention there, Christopher. That
Canada?
Yeah, what the fuck?
That one's not on the books, remember?
yeah. Fuck. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
Now, Uncle Derek came through, but I think it probably wasn't the easiest thing in the world, and it had to be a style that was shelf stable, travelable, and able to sort of sit in a warehouse for 12 weeks. I don't know. I feel like that would be possible. It'd be a bit of a thing you probably have to really give a shit. But if you're getting interest elsewhere in Asia, that's amazing, dude. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, and it's been good because apart from obviously Taiwan, who we haven't done yet, but they've all been repeat orders and consistent, and the feedback is that the beer's being getting over there in a decent condition, and obviously you expect it's going to have a bit of age on it when it gets over there, but yeah, it's been received well. So
that's
continuing
fun,
orders, and it's good. So hopefully we'll be able to get over there to some of those countries in the next 12 months or so, and see how it's going over there and meet some people, and
hell yeah, that's the plan, eh? To actually go and make some maybe more stronger local connections in person.
Yeah, just for I don't know, just to hopefully continue that. We don't, we're not trying to send containers and containers over, but to be able to sort of keep that going for for the next couple of years, it'd be nice to be able to just make those relationships especially with the distributors stronger, and the people that are buying the beer and the bars and stuff like that. Also, I'm sure it'll be a hell of a lot of fun.
Oh, dude. Yeah, they're a vibe. I've never been to Asia, but I've only seen everything I've ever seen. Like, people just seem into it, particularly because they probably don't get a ton of beer outside of their their general region.
Yeah,
so exactly they're getting stuff in. Like, that must be super fun. Like, super cool, man. It makes sense. It makes complete sense. I love it, dude. What's coming up? What's next for you guys? What are you guys focusing on for 2024? Seeing as we're doing this January, full year ahead. So what's the plans? What's the vibes? What can people expect?
Hopefully more quality.
Because it's the new hype.
Quality is the new hype. Yeah. Hopefully improvements across the whole range, which is exciting because I think most of those beers are already drinking really well. Keep experimenting within the beers we've got. We're really I'm personally trying to push some more development and experimentation within our lager program. Really I'd love. It's not a huge scene at the moment, but it's one that's on the lager, the craft lager space over here. So I'd like to really focus on that and try and make that a bit of a thing that for a long time we've been a brewery that people sought after for our IPAs and our stouts. But I'd love to push into that. And I think some of our lagers, we've got a pretty reasonable name for lagers. So, to be able to go down that path and really do some of the more traditional techniques and stuff like that within the lager space would be awesome. Keep pushing the boundaries with hops, obviously. Some more fun stouts. We're not I've been told to not spend any more money on the brewery or anywhere else. So not too many more upgrades. We got one final upgrade happening at the brewery in 2 weeks, which is just sort of hopefully finishes off what we've been doing for the last few months, and then just keep on doing what we're doing, pump out good product, instill in people that our plan is to be here for good beer for a long time, and just keep having fun with it, and try and make everyone else have fun. Like, we want anyone that works for us or drinks our beer or comes and hangs out to enjoy themselves, because that's what it's all about. It's it's a fun product. It's a fun industry to work in. That's going well. It's still a fun industry to work in when it's not going so well, but it's just a little tougher. But
hopefully it's a temporary dip.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll bounce back. It's got to. Like,
everything always has
good beer.
Yeah,
it's good beer. Like, I'm personally, I'm not going back to drinking. I don't mind the odd macro beer depending on what it is, but I'm not gonna, I'm not going back to full-time macro. So I figure there's got to be at least 100,000 me's out there. So
that's a fair bet. That's a fair bet right there, dude. Yeah. No, man, that's awesome. No, it's exciting to see, man. It's really cool to see like the growth and the changes since we met. I guess that's come up on like 6 years ago, and it's cool just to see that growth from afar, and sometimes there, and like, sometimes I get treated and get some stuff, and it's cool, man. I love it. I'm really happy for you. It's fucking sick. Easily my favorite in Australia. It has been since I came down, and it's just cool watching the passion for the way you approach it, and the way, you're traveling for it, and really thoughtful about how you're presenting it, and even just getting nerdy about lagers. I think that's sick. It's like, feels like a great evolution. That where it's going, as you're getting into this elder statesman status of 8+ years, and I'm
getting quite a lot of greys, actually. Yeah,
mate, so you're right.
Leaning into it.
You got to. Just gotta let that shit run, bro. There's nothing you can do. You can use just for men, but you look like a tool, so there's nothing you can do. It's the only way.
Hopefully it's going. Yeah.
No, it's beautiful, brother. Hell yeah, man. I appreciate your time. Let's just do a quick screenshot, and then we'll finish up off air here. I'll still use these for the blog. Is there anything fun you could hold up? You don't have to hold up something. It always just makes it anything. Even if it's a stapler. There you go. Look at that. Ready? Gorgeous. Christopher, where can everyone find Banks Brewing online, sir?
Predominantly, the best spot would be probably Instagram, so at Banks Beer. It could be at Banks Brewing. I don't know. I'm terrible at this stuff.
I'll check while you're talking.
Just banksbrewing.com.au, Facebook, emails, whatever you want. But yeah, most of our stuff is best found on our Instagram for sure.
Banks Brewing.
There you go.
Banks Brewing. There we go. Yeah. We're all on top of it.
Yeah, that's the best spot. But yeah, we'll get back to you as early as we can if you reach out with a message. So.
Love it. Dude, thank you again for taking the time to hang out. Sorry it was like 4 years between pods. Let's hopefully not make it that long, but really cool to catch up and to hear about what you guys are doing. Exciting times, even if it's a precarious time everywhere. History will tell us that there are always dips, ebbs and flows, so it's a matter of time before this shit comes back up to where it needs to be. So
that's it.
Appreciate you. Absolutely, keep on drinking, and make sure quality is the new hype, yo. I'm telling you.
Exactly.
Chris is telling you. Stick around. Damn, you should actually. You could trademark that probably. Did you know I trademarked "Get It In Ya" in Canada, so people can't say "Get It In Ya"? Yeah.
Nice,
and
nice.
I know, so TM, and we trademarked our name. But anyway, just wanted to let people know. And fucking try it. Not in Australia though, because it's probably owned there. You gotta take away.
Yeah, maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. I didn't even try. I was just like, it's okay.
It's not easy to trademark things here. I mean, some things we tried for a time. So
it's like, I guess it just takes for a while. It took like 3 years to get BAOS podcasts, and I'm still waiting. But when you're waiting, you get TM, and then when you got it, you get the R.
Right.
So I have TM for that, but BAOS podcast, we got it. So that's registered trademark. So anyone touches that, then you essentially automatically win the case. If it's TM, you still have to prove it. If you do a cease and desist and someone puts get it in you on something, but because we've been using it for so long, I would have incidental proof to be able to. My lawyer told me, she said you'd be able to use it to, if you wanted to fuck, if someone was taking it. But that was some COVID. Just be like, I don't know, let's trademark stuff. Why not?
Yeah,
fuck it.
Yeah.
It's a good move.
We tried.
Yeah. What'd you try?
Yeah,
you should.
We went through the process of trademarking Banks, and then just seemed like too much trouble. I think I paid for the initial stuff and came back and forth, and there was a lot of things. But I don't know. I just figured if we really struggle with it, there you go. There's another rebrand happening. So.
There you go. Change it again. Who cares? Yeah.
Yeah. Just diverse. Pivoting.
Pivoting forever. Fuck it. I mean, no big deal. Bro, stick around. Thank you again for your time. This was super fun. Appreciate you. Folks, thank you for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit that notification bell so you know when the new drops. Follow us everywhere at BAOS Podcast. Check out the long form audio so you can hear legendary individuals, elder statesmen like Christopher talk about craft beer. Hit us with them 5 stars, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You know the vibes. We'll see you in the next episode, guys. Get in ya.